Hi, you guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Allie Wilkins. If it's your first time here, I'm an oracle, a priestess, an author, a mentor, teacher of the ancient feminine, and I create online courses and group programs to really revive the ancient feminine in the modern world. So that's a little about me. Welcome to my YouTube page. I'd love for you to subscribe and hang around with us as we talk about just interesting conversations around the ancient feminine. But today we're going to talk about Lilith, and I want to tell you a story about how she's been showing up for me as I've been working with Lilith with groups and in the collective. And I have a program called Full Spectrum Feminine, where every month we work with a different archetype of the ancient feminine. And so this month we're working with the Primal Feminine, and this is important for the story. So about 10 days ago or so, I started working on the material for the Primal Feminine for this archetype for Full Spectrum Feminine this month. And to do that, I'm writing a bunch of stuff, I'm filming videos, and I need to have context from the goddess or from the archetype itself that can support me in teaching it, right? So I knew that Lilith was going to be our guardian for this archetype. And so I called out to her and I said, I'd love to invoke you into my field. I also would like to deepen my own relationship with you. Can you please support me with writing the materials and with anything that you want the collective to know about you? And I feel like she wants me to share this video even with the collective because she is so misunderstood. Religion has said that she's like a demoness and a temptress and a succubus and like that she's out here killing all these children and stuff. And like none of that stuff is true. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the context around that just for time purposes. I do that in my work that you can purchase from me. But what I want to speak to is that her energy is so demonized because the patriarchy is afraid of her. So it's the same energy of if you're a woman, you have dealt with this with a man at some point, or you have seen other women deal with this. If you reject someone, a lot of times they immediately demonize you. If a guy asks you at a bar, like, do you want to dance or can I buy you a drink? And then they're like, whatever, you suck anyways, or whatever, like it's kind of that energy that I feel is really the underlying frequency of why those are the stories that have been told about Lilith, because she refused to be a part of the patriarchal system. And so for that reason, she's a threat. So the best way to keep the humans who are enslaved in a patriarchal system, the best way to keep us away from her is to be scared of her. So they said all these really scary stories about her, which actually a lot of them like, oh, she gives you orgasms in your sleep. How so scary. Or like I'll just say this part because I think that this is really important and relevant to her story. Jewish mysticism says like, oh, she went and killed children every night. She would come to your house, give you wet dreams basically, and then kill your children. And the context that people don't understand about this is that there was a time in history with religion, monotheistic religion specifically, and Christianity specifically, that you would go to jail or be executed if you were caught masturbating. They believed that releasing semen that wasn't just going into a woman for procreation, they saw that as wasting life, as killing someone. I teach about this a lot in my other work, so I'm not going to go into this part for short because it's a whole thing. But our sexuality has been completely demonized, and so they were trying to really control people sexually. And when it's said about Lilith that she was killing children, that's what they were talking about. And I had this revelation a few days ago when I was talking to her, because I was like, I can understand like the temptress thing, because religion, you can literally read in the Bible, it talks about how women are spiritual temptresses and they are tempting men off of the holy path. Like, stop. Maybe men could just like learn how to control themselves. Anyway, so I was asking her, like, I understand the lies about all these other stories, but I don't understand, like, tell me about the killing children thing. And immediately that came into my frequency. I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense. Because if you're orgasming in your sleep, if a man is having wet dreams, then his semen's being released, right? And that's a life according to old Christianity and Catholicism and old really monotheistic religion, the beginning of the patriarchy. When we're working with Lilith, her frequency is so misunderstood, first of all, because the stories about her are not true. So everybody's like, Lilith, like why would you want to work with Lilith? She's a demon. She's scary. She's not scary. She's scary to the patriarchal system because the patriarchal system knows that if we were embodying that energy, we would take down the patriarchy. We would not stand for the rape and pillage of humans, people, animals, the earth, all of it. We wouldn't stand for this type of treatment. So they try to scare us away from it so that we don't embody her frequency. Turns out she's coming back. So patriarchy's in trouble. We are very misunderstood about Lilith's representation and what she's really here to help us with. And I teach about this specifically in Full Spectrum Feminine in depth, but I'm going to just say here, the first thing that she helps us do is break us out of patriarchal systems. But that's not really her energy. That's not who she is. It's like, that's what's necessary to understand who she is. So that's one thing that has a lot encompassed within it. And the next aspect is the wild feminine. And this I see as being a little different from the wild woman. Like, there are a lot of differences between like Lilith and Artemis, or Lilith and Diana, for example. There's some different frequencies of like the queen of the wilderness versus the queen of the night. So I work with Lilith as a primal feminine. This is how I teach it. And so the second aspect of working with her is around the wild feminine frequency. And then lastly, primal sexuality. So those are the ways that I teach her. But I want to tell you this story about how she has shown up so tangibly. And I'm just like, whoa, this is really cool. And I feel like she wants me to share this. So I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee here. I just woke up and this happened, what I'm about to tell you. And then I just took a shower real quick. And I was like, I've got to just run and tell everybody. Like, I'm so excited about this. So, got to give you some backstory for a second. So, about 10 days ago, I was starting to write the materials for the Primal Feminine. And what I do, my process is I write out like a 30-40 page teaching workbook for people to apply what I'm teaching into their own life. So I write that first, and then I film a video where I'm basically just like channeling information. I'm not like looking at the notes or anything like that. I'm just channeling whatever she wants to share, whatever the archetype wants to share. And then I do an Akashic Records journey. So that's my process. And I was asking her, can you please support me with, sharing anything specifically that you want to be present in this module? And literally the next day, that was like at nighttime. The next morning, I walk down the steps, and this place that I'm passing every single day, and I'm staying at someone's house right now, house sitting for them and taking care of their animals and their garden and stuff. And so I walk down this series of steps every day. This property is large. There's a lot of other places where what I'm about to say could have been. So I see a 6-foot snakeskin, completely intact, beautiful. Like, it must have happened like that night that I had asked for Lilith to come into my field because it was so fresh. And so I just looked at it like, oh my gosh, this is an offering from Lilith. Like, this is a gift from Lilith, because the serpent is very representative of the feminine energy as a whole, but of specifically the primal feminine. And a black snake is very specific to Lilith. So this was a black snake shedding. And I was just like, okay, Lilith, I know that you're here. And so then I was spending about a week doing all of the materials, writing all the content, filming everything for this month's archetype that we're starting actually today, August 1st. And today, this morning, so I finished all the materials last night at like 10 p.m. And this morning I wake up, go outside. I felt the snakeskin sort of like calling to me, and I'm saving it to use for a ceremony for myself. So I was feeling information coming from, like a download coming from the energy of the snakeskin, which I would also just say Lilith, telling me how it wanted to be used for the ceremony. And then I had this feeling of like, I'm going to see something today. And I had asked Lilith, I was like, please don't show me a wild snake. Like, I see this snakeskin. I'm outside all the time doing stuff to like tend to this farm. And I don't want to be like hyper vigilant, having to look for snakes everywhere and stuff. Like, You could show me a snake maybe like the day I leave or something, but can we just not do like the real life live snake thing? Like that would be awesome. Thank you. And this morning I was like, I'm gonna see something. And I have to go in this shed to get food for the duck. And so last night I saw a rat in this shed and I was like, oh, snakes are attracted to mice and rats and stuff like that. I was like, okay, Lilith, I don't want to see a snake, like reiterating that to her. And so this morning I go outside, I hear the thing about the snake skin, and how I need to be using it. And then I heard, you're gonna see something today. And it felt like it was gonna happen very quickly. And so I would go walk over the shed to get the food for the duck, open the shed door. On this, there's a step inside of the shed. There's a 6 foot long snake, probably the same snake that was the shed because it was the same size. And literally in this shed, like there's stuff all over the place. Like this snake could have been anywhere. It was right there where I have to walk up to go get the duck food, like so that I couldn't miss it. And half of the snake was wrapped around this, like, I don't know what it was. It was like a black pole of some sort that was like 4 feet tall. And half of its body was wrapped around this pole. And I was like, I would have just walked right past it and not even seen that. Like it was blended in so well with this pole. But then the other half was on the step. And I was like, Lilith, you have made yourself so known. This is the first day that we're working with the Primal Feminine in Full Spectrum Feminine as an archetype. So she's like, I'm here, I'm working with everyone. And I just think it's so interesting because, we can have relationships with goddesses for years or with the deities of any sort. And the relationship continues to deepen. And it just blows my mind when things are so tangible like that. Like, I'm out in the country. It's not crazy to see a snake, but to see a snake like on specific days, right after I call her into my frequency, right when we're doing specific things, and then to hear this guidance of like, you're about to see something. This is how you're meant to work with this. And the snake has such powerful energy. And for me, like one of my things that clearly is something I get to work with is not being afraid of actual live snakes. Like I love the energy of snakes because they are so powerful and wise in sharing I call this like the full spectrum system of light and dark, which the church has tried to separate into two different things and making one good and one bad. And the feminine is all, just like the snake is all, right? And when I say the snake is all, what I mean is there's the more light aspect that is like the shamanic wisdom, the shamanic symbolism of the serpent itself, being a representative of life force energy, being representative even of like dying many times in your life and being reborn, how they shed their skin, and then the other side of it is like, well, they're kind of slithery and a little slimy and a little, people are like, don't act like a snake. That means like, don't be shady. So there's a full spectrum energy, and it's the same with the feminine. Oh, also, this was the other thing I wanted to say. I asked her, I came inside and I was like in adrenaline mode, like after being frozen, after I saw this snake, just in like surprise. And I was like, Lilith, I told you I didn't want to see like a real snake right now because I don't want to be like hyper vigilant when I'm outside walking around and stuff. Like why did you do that? She was like, you needed to be confronted with it. You needed to have this physical symbol of me present in your life and also notice your own reaction to it. Notice your own reaction. She was like, I did it during the daytime. Like if you had seen him at nighttime, it would have been more scary because I have to go in the shed at night too when I put the duck away. So like coyotes don't eat him and stuff. So it's just so interesting that we can have these very, very tangible relationships with these deities. And I just find that when I am working with them in the purpose of a larger group of people, like not just for myself, they come in much stronger. And as a high priestess, as a facilitator, I've been creating courses online for years. Whenever I'm creating anything with many people who will be affected, they come in a lot stronger. So with that being said, we're going to work with Lilith also in the realm of the dark feminine, which is basically a shorter version of full spectrum feminine. These are both offerings that I have, different time lengths, where we are looking at different archetypes of the feminine for the purpose of we have to learn how to embody the all, right? We have archetypes that we are very comfortable in. So for example, you might be very comfortable in the lover archetype. You might be very comfortable in the empress archetype. You might be very comfortable with the seductress, the high seductress archetype, which I coined that term, by the way. And we talk about that in both of those courses, why it's called the high seductress and the difference between that and the femme fatale. But we have natural giftings and certain archetypes, but then other archetypes were like, whoa, like I don't know how to embody this, or like there's a lot of stories around this for me. And so when we spend time learning how to embody them, like we become so much richer in spirit, in our physicality. We become so much more embodied. We become more expansive and wider in our energy because we're able to access more. And it's just so powerful. You know, I've been doing Full Spectrum Feminine now for 8 months, and that's a year-long program. So we go through 12 of the archetypes. Realm of the Dark Feminine is much shorter. It's a more consolidated experience where we're just looking at 5 of the Dark Feminine archetypes. So that's going to be starting soon. And we're going to be going through this same archetype of the Primal Feminine. We're going to look at Lilith. We're going to look at several other dark goddesses who really support us in this very specific frequency and reclaiming a lot of our power. So I'm going to put the wait list in the comments here or in the description. So if you want to get on the wait list for Realm of the Dark Feminine, it's going to be coming out in about 6 weeks or so. But if you get on the wait list, you'll get the early bird pricing. So you can join at the best price and you don't have to like, you know, if you miss my post or something about it, like you can get the best price for it still. And there will be a special offer given just to the wait list. So if you want to join that, I will have the wait list for Realm of the Dark Feminine, also Full Spectrum Feminine, which you can join at any time as self-study, but the group launches once per year and it's like really powerful to do it as a group. What you can also do is join it as self-study now while the price is lower. It's going to go up next year. You can join self-study and then you'll have that amount taken off of the group program if you want to sign up for that in January, because you would already have all the curriculum. So you'll save a little bit of money doing it that way. If you're like, yeah, I definitely want to join next year, just buy the self-study now, and then you'll pay a little bit more for the group, but you'll have it will be at a discounted rate for you. So I'll have the wait list for both of those. If you want to share any experiences of Lilith in the comments, if you want to share any thoughts about her, as long as they're respectful, because we have to remember what was talked about her is not accurate. The stories about her in Jewish mysticism are not accurate. The story, she's only in the Bible once where they basically call her a night demon, but they're not accurate. They're just demonizing the feminine. Just like any powerful form of feminine energy is still demonized to this day. So it's no different with Lilith. And we get to have a new understanding of her. And that's something I'm really excited about that we're bringing forward in these 2 different courses that I have. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, shares, put them in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want more stuff like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and have an amazing, beautiful week/life. Okay, bye.